Hi guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're talking about Panini. Last episode I talked about Topps and how their recent acquisition of the Premier League license can affect them, how they release sets moving forward into the 2025-26 season. With Panini though losing that Premier League license, where does the future hold for them? I'm actually kind of optimistic for them in producing some nice product, even losing that Premier League license, which is a big loss. Of course, Panini's main license is the World Cup, and they've had and produced so many great World Cup sets, cards, and stickers since 1970. That is their main license. They need to keep hold of that one because it allows them to not only release some great World Cup, and obviously now they've lost the Euro license, but it allows them to put out some really cool FIFA-related products. So national team sets moving forward. They also, of course, have the Italian League, the French League, and the Spanish League. So all good licenses to have. Yeah, maybe not as good as the Premier League, but still great to have. So we've got to talk about what sort of products they could be releasing moving forward. This is a bit more unscripted compared to my Topps one, but I think that, yeah, it should be a slightly shorter video. So many would argue that Panini's greatest run of releasing product was from 2014 up until maybe about 2018. They released a lot of fairly desirable sets in that era, and it was a pretty important era for collecting soccer cards because it was the first sort of time where Panini and Topps released hobby product that was numbered parallels, lots of autographs to chase. It was very much a higher risk but higher reward type of product compared to what we've seen previously with a lot of sets, and that was really because of the American influence. Panini America, Topps America got involved and produced some soccer card sets of their own. Prior to that, it was really UK and European releases from these companies that would, there would be some sets that would have autographs, but as far as parallels go, they just weren't really entertaining that. It wasn't really a collectible thing in Europe and in the UK. It was very much about just sort of completing sets and the idea of chasing low-numbered cards really was an American thing that came in, and a lot of people view that 2014 World Cup Prism set as one of the first pioneering sets, and it is, in producing some really nice numbered cards, some pretty great names in terms of an autograph checklist. And, for me, back in 2014, I remember collecting that full base set, collecting a lot of the inserts. I personally, back then, I had that sort of UK European approach of just collecting the set, not really focusing in on the numbered stuff, which is, again, something that I kind of regret nowadays. Obviously, those numbered cards are quite valuable now, as they should be. There was the sticking point of, at the time, Panini didn't have the England license, so as a result, they didn't have a license to their kits, which was a bit off-putting. Being a bit of an England fan myself, I wasn't really too interested in the Lampard cards and collecting national team cards from 2014, but even up until sort of 2016 and 2018. So for me, in this era, this about 4 or 5 year era, I wasn't actually collecting too many of these sets we're going to mention in a moment. I collected the World Cup Prism 2014, Euro 2016 Prism as well, and then 2018 World Cup. But in amongst that, there's a lot of other sets that maybe Panini can draw back to and actually release moving forward into 2025-26. So I did a poll recently on my Instagram. There's 8 sets that they released during this era that maybe they could bring back, and I asked your guys' opinion on what you think they should bring back. In the first voting poll, undoubtedly Noir was the most popular, so a lot of people wanted to bring that one back. Cool design, the black background. Definitely. I think the case with all these cards, they all have their sort of individual look to them. Bit surprising Revolution didn't get as many votes. I think Revolution was a set that did come back for the Premier League kind of recently. I actually completed that full base set and inserts, which was a pretty tough task. That was a more of a Asian exclusive set. The trouble with the Revolution, maybe the parallels aren't as desirable, really, although I think the Galactics certainly get some decent love. But yeah, ultimately, Noir is something that I think a lot of people would like to see back. And with Panini just having that FIFA license, I mean, they could release Noir for the other league licenses that they have. But for FIFA, national team cards with Noir again, I think would be an interesting take and an option for them to go for. And then the other four mentioned, I mean, I expected that Nobility and Treble would be the most popular, and they certainly were. Nobility just edging it there. These are a couple of nice sets. I really like Nobility, and I'll touch on that a bit more in a moment. Treble, of course, had a real sort of upsurge in popularity recently with the parallels. Some certainly nice cards in that collection. But I think, yeah, there's definitely some brands that Panini can look back on and actually maybe release moving forward. If you take, say, World Cup, for instance, they've got the World Cup license, they've got FIFA license. I suspect World Cup coming out next year. I suspect that they will be releasing some sort of Row 2 collections at the end of this year. That could be, maybe a mosaic or a select, and then maybe a higher end Row 2 collection. And then going into next year, I'd be expecting maybe Prism again as that official product for that tournament, and maybe a high-end set as well. I'm not a huge fan of the Row 2 collections. I do prefer just to collect the cards and teams that are actually in the tournament. But I think that it's understandable for them to release that type of product. And then, speaking of World Cup, so there's a handful of products they could release for the tournament across a number of months. I also think they should release. They obviously release Prism, which is it's not a high-end set, but it is expensive. And then you got maybe say what is the big set that they're Eminence. So that's a really high-end set for collectors. But I feel like they should actually release another set that's actually a bit more affordable, cheaper than Prism, but certainly more expensive than, say, Adrenaline, which is more of a game card, has that more of a niche market, certainly across UK and Europe. So I think they definitely could release a maybe cheaper product to Prism, which may be a bit more affordable and people can chase and rip boxes of. So yeah, definitely World Cup related. There's a handful of sets that they could release for that tournament. But with the FIFA license, there's no reason why they can't put out a few products. Obviously, they release Select nowadays, FIFA Select. But there's no reason why they can't actually put out some of these products I mentioned, Nobility, Treble. Maybe not doing them every year. We don't want to see a repetitive nature of these type of products, in my opinion. But I think it would be cool to bring at least one or two of these back. And even like with the other licenses that they've got, Syria, La Liga, and the French League, it'd be kind of interesting if they did Chronicles again and actually have those three sets as part of those mini boxes, replacing the Premier League. So I think Chronicles is quite a kind of loved product. So it'd be cool if they were to bring that back as well. But speaking of, so I've touched on World Cup. Obviously, they lost the Euro license, which was a big deal. Topps released some really bad products this last year. If Panini can get back that Euro license, that'd be a big win in my opinion. They've also got Copa America, and they released a really good product for that recently. But we've spoken about World Cup. Let's talk about a few of these sets of interest. I particularly like Nobility. This Nobility is, for me, my favourite out of these 8. And I just think the concept of it is really good. I'm not a huge fan of legend cards in modern product. I think they're, particularly with the big brands, they tend to go for the same players all the time. And, I feel like if they mix it up a bit, it might be a bit more tolerable. But I think over time people will get a bit more sick of legend cards and actually go towards their playing day stuff, because that will always be relevant to them. But with Nobility's the exception for me, because it's actually a complete legendary checklist. Everyone in the checklist is a legend. Back in 2017, there were obviously a few playing days players such as Ronaldo and Messi. Of course, you've got to include them wherever possible. And, they were legends already at that point. But great design. I think a lot of people like the simplicity of the design. Nice looking parallels. I think the thing that they could improve next time if they were to do a Nobility set is actually they could really make the checklist a lot better than what it was in 2017. Let's just take a look at the first 10 cards in the checklist. I mean, you can argue Rijkaard was a legend for Netherlands. Then you've got Antogny. I've actually probably butchered that pronunciation there. I'm pretty knowledgeable when it comes to football, but there are certain names, particularly in the 80s, that I'm not familiar with. I presume he was probably part of that Italian side in that era. I mean, probably a legend at the time, but someone that I'm not sure too many people be familiar with. Obviously, Pele is a great player to have. That's, again, a factor with this Nobility checklist, is that I think Pele might be the oldest player in it. There's no players from the 60s, 50s, and earlier. So if they were to bring Nobility back, if they can delve back in the archives and release some cards from those legends earlier, that would be pretty amazing. And then we've got likes of Salinas, Elba, Ambrosini, even Franca. I mean, these are guys that, you can throw around the legend name a lot. I'm not entirely convinced these are all sort of legends. Even Brad Friedel, a great keeper for the USA, but in the grand scheme of things, and even like Diego Milito for Argentina. I know he had a good season for Inter. He's certainly not a Argentinian legend by any means. And Zola, of course, I would argue is certainly a legend. But you can say that from that first 10 in that checklist, a good half of them you can question whether or not they kind of deserve to be in that sort of legend bracket, which basically just all in all indicates that there are so many players that you can call on to have in a checklist for a legend exclusive product, and they can certainly release Nobility maybe not every year but every 2 years or every 3 years, and have a fairly fresh checklist of players. I don't want to see the same old guys all the time, but yeah, definitely a product that I would like to see. Nobility was also well known for his on-card autographs, which are fantastic. It'd be great to see those sort of similar designs back. So some really cool autographs in that collection. But another thing I really love about the collection is the inserts. Something that I've certainly questioned with a lot of sets recently is the quality of inserts that they put out. Nobility, I think, really hit the nail on the head with some great cards. The club and country insert checklist, I just love that concept of having the same players but a card from in the club and in their country. Really great looking designs and great subject matter there. So major tick for that sort of set. Marquee moments as well, signaling a year that they played in, an important year for their national side. Great checklist, great idea. And then national heroes as well was a really nice looking card. Legends, of course, so nice foil finish to those. So really cool inserts, great on-card autographs we see in that collection. Definitely a product that I would like to see back. So Nobility, maybe we may see that in the future. But yeah, I think ultimately Panini should certainly be confident in releasing some good products moving forward. Yes, losing the Premier League isn't great, but they've got a lot of brands that they can call upon. They have got that FIFA license, so they can release some really cool national team kits moving forward. Of course, there's the FIFA Club World Cup, which I think is getting expanded as the years go on. They'll have lots of big-time clubs around the world participating in that tournament, meaning, I presume, licensed club cards for those teams in products moving forward. So I don't think it's an end of those big clubs seeing Panini cards moving forward, but certainly they should revel in national team cards and, of course, those other 3 sort of major league licenses and release some good product. Hopefully they can, because, yeah, they certainly deserve some good love in the hobby. Panini products moving forward, I think, could be good. So let me know your thoughts down below, what sort of set you would like to see back. And, yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one.